Well, a very good afternoon to you, Nastasia, and to the viewers back at home. And yes, earlier on we were talking to residents, getting their views, engaging them. Did they go out and vote? And are they optimistic that the party that they casted their vote for will bring the necessary change? And we were in Reservoir Hills, where we spoke to several of the community members who told us about their plights, what they want their political party of choice to do for them, and possibly they're hopeful that they will win. Right now I am joined by political analyst Becky Mgomezulu just to talk about eThekwini. We do know, Nastasia, it's highly contested, and as you know, the rest of the country's numbers and votes start trickling in eThekwini, a different picture. We possibly will be the last metro on the block, Prof, to hear whether and who will take the metro. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Prof, I'm going to go right into it. The numbers are looking good for the IFP. They have really made inroads in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yes, absolutely. And it shouldn't come as a surprise. There are a couple of factors that have contributed to the IFP doing so well. One of them is a decision that was taken by the leadership of the IFP to dedicate this election to Inkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi. That worked for them. Of course, there was criticism at the beginning as to why they were not using the current president's face, that is Mr. Hlabisa, Velenkosi Hlabisa. But then the explanation that was provided by Hlabisa himself was that there is no controversy. There was a decision taken by the leadership of the party that they will dedicate this election to Inkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And we know for sure that he is one person who has left a good legacy for the IFP. So then the moment you see his face, then you recall what he's done for the party. So that is one thing that worked well for them. But then secondly, in terms of campaigning, they did a fantastic job in terms of campaigning across the province. So that was the second plus for them. And then if you also look at some of the events that they organized, including the day when they were launching their manifesto, that was well thought through and was well presented. And you could even see the diversity that they presented. You had the Honorable Singh on the one hand, we had Mkhuleko Hlengo, who was vibrant on the day. So I think they did everything well. And then thirdly also, some of the municipalities that were under the ANC, there was a little bit of complacency in the ANC. They miscalculated and thought that those municipalities are already in the bag before the election started. So when then members of the party, that is members of the ANC, started complaining about the party list, it took a long time for those issues to be resolved. And then meanwhile, the IFP was preparing for the election. So I think those are some of the factors that have contributed to the IFP doing so well in this election. Of course, the IEC is still going to pronounce officially, but then the results that are in right now tell you that the IFP, in fact, will be the great winner in this election, more especially in KwaZulu-Natal.
And their strategy as well. I mean, we saw the debacle with the whole posters incident in Phoenix. The IFP taking a different stance, though, also sending out a positive message, and I think that also contributed. But also the fact that they've got a lot of candidates within the Indian population as well, those from Indian descent that are also, and they've basically said to the community, you know, we stand for Inkatha Freedom Party, Amazulu, but we also speak for other races, and they've really had made an inroad into KwaZulu-Natal and into eThekwini. When we talk about the NFP, we spoke off camera earlier on, and you said to me that, you know, there was some places, some wards that you were very surprised. You know, and you talk about the IFP again, also making sure that they make inroads in Zululand. They've managed to retain most of the wards. We heard former President Jacob Zuma being very hopeful yesterday, saying that, you know, he hopes that at least in Nkandla, 14 will be you know, retained by the ANC, but unfortunately not.
No, yeah, there have been some surprises for those who didn't read the face of this election and the previous election quite well. So people are optimistic that some municipalities will fall under different political parties. But the reality of the matter is that there are areas which some of us knew up front that these ones will definitely belong to the IFP. Of course, there have been some shocks in some instances where the IFP seems to have made inroads in what is conventionally an ANC stronghold. So those are some of the surprises. But with the NFP, I still, in fact, feel bad about the NFP, because when it started in 2011, it performed fantastically well, not just in the province but also nationally in 2014. So it did very well. But the incapacitation of the late Kamakwaza Msebi was a big blow to the NFP. And in her absence, there was that political vacuum or political space which was mishandled by the leaders of the party. Instead of them following the constitution of the party by making sure that the deputy takes over while Kamakwaza Msebi was incapacitated, they used that opportunity to fight for positions. That was bad. But it has come back, and there is hope that going forward they might do better. But for now, of course, they will get 1 or 2 seats here and there, but I don't think that they will outpace the IFP given its strategy.
Prof, before I let you go, the last question. Looking at eThekwini, we're obviously seeing the ANC doing fairly well now. Like you said, it's still early. We're still waiting for the official results to be declared. But in terms of the ANC and all the factionalism that we've seen in the province, particularly here, KZN is seen as the kingmaker when it comes to ANC, and there's a very strong hold here. What are your predictions looking like?
No, you see, when it comes to eThekwini, in fact, one of the interviews I had with some of your colleagues at 3 a.m. this morning, I was saying that despite all the challenges that the ANC has faced, it will still win eThekwini, albeit with a small margin. And there are a number of reasons for that. If you look at the DA, for example, it conceded defeat long before the election started by not fielding a mayoral candidate. So that in itself showed you that the DA has considered that it will never get eThekwini Metro. And then you have the IFP. The IFP also is prepared to increase the number of seats from what it got in 2016, but it is not eyeing for eThekwini for the mayoral candidate. Then you have the likes of Herman Mashaba, who in my view is biting more than he can chew. He says that he wants to take over eThekwini from the ANC. I don't see that happening. You also have the EFF making the same pronouncement. I don't see the EFF taking eThekwini. So as much as the ANC might be one of the biggest losers in KwaZulu-Natal in this election, they will still win eThekwini. You can ask me after the elections. I still believe that the ANC will still win eThekwini.
It's going to be a very interesting one, Prof. Well,
Indeed,
we'll leave it there as we await the official eThekwini results. And I think all eyes are on eThekwini, Nastasia, as people want to see what happens in this particular metro, the only metro in KwaZulu-Natal that is highly contested. It's back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Jayed-Leigh Paulse. We now get an